cause would you be promoting if elected?
What
your
cause?
Non-custodial role, like what sort of cause?
Yes, I did mention that the unifying role is an important role, and the unifying role is critical now in view of the great unhappiness. And the great unhappiness is really caused by the economic policy, which has resulted in a widening income gap, depression of earnings, loss of jobs for professionals, depression of earnings, lower earnings for the lower paid, lower income, and too much reliance on foreign workers, which has caused overcrowding. These are issues that are caused by the economic policy, and I would like to engage the government on this matter to develop the Prime Minister has acknowledged the unhappiness caused by the policies that he has pursued. I hope he would go further than that and not just introduce cosmetic changes. The changes that he has announced in the National Day rally are, I think, piecemeal. They will not achieve a happy society that we seek out to attain. So I would try to achieve an economic consensus based on economic growth that will benefit all people and not just one section. I would not go, as I did mention at yesterday's forum, that I would not take a mathematical approach to economic growth, where, it's so easy. When I first went to Ministry of Trade and Industry, it's such an easy thing to do to achieve high economic growth. You either achieve it by increasing productivity or increasing labor supply. And the easy way out, because increasing productivity is a long-term process, the easier way out is to increase number of workers, right? And which is what the government has done. And I would call this a mathematical approach. Whether the ministers studied mathematics or studied engineering does not matter. But it is important that you don't take such a mathematical approach that you are obsessed with double-digit figures and forget about what impact it has on the people. And that is why we make this the heart of the nation our slogan.
Okay, beyond just economics, in terms of the cause, I'm asking, Dr. Tan Cheng Bock has spoken about promoting multiracialism. President Nathan, charity was a big thing with him. What about yourself?
Of course, promotion of worthy causes will still be an important thing to me. But on top of just, charity is really an expression of compassion. So if you are talking about the heart of nation, compassion, I think you don't just show passion by contributing 30 cents mobile SMSs and all that. You show it in more solid ways, volunteerism, to promoting volunteerism, spending time. I'm always, as a student in the UK, I'm always impressed by people who take a gap year. Take a year off after A-levels, before they go to university. They will take a year off. They call it a gap year. And during this gap year, they will do charity work. They go on missions, mercy relief, or go to the kibbutz in Israel. These are the things I think we should. And how do we do it? Because there is national service coming into the picture as well. How do you do it without affecting the obligations of our young men to do national service? So that's something that I would like. Singaporean males especially are concerned about loss of time because of NS. And as someone who has been through the system, and as I can understand it, because when I work in an international bank, when I interview people, and I really pity the Singapore guy. At the age of 25, he's being interviewed for his first job, whereas all his foreign competitors are only 20, 21, young, fresh, knowledgeable, with the latest knowledge from universities, whereas our young men spent 2.5 years in university in NS, and that really held them back. And I think that is why they are always in a hurry to catch up. So how do we marry this need to catch up with the need to do some voluntary work? Gap year, introducing gap year. Tell them not to be in too much of a hurry to achieve material success too young.
Mr. Tan, the tone of your speeches, the latest one being right after close of nomination day, to some people it might seem that it's like you are championing the cause of the opposition. Are you trying to sort of like target support from people who are unhappy with the government, anti-establishment?
I don't think so. I want to reach out to all Singaporeans, not just those who are opposed to the government. But you must know what the role of this elected president is. What is it designed for? It is designed to provide checks and balances on the government. That is the primary role. Head of state role, you don't need that role. You don't need the role by changing the constitution to make it elected. You could have this role being discharged by an appointed president, which was what happened in the past, right? You don't. But the fact that you change the presidency from an appointment to an elected position, is because you want to give him the moral authority to provide checks and balances on the government. Sorry. I better switch it off first. Okay, so it's not okay yet. Okay, where were we? Oh yeah, I want to reach out to all, not just those who voted against the government, because this is a role that above party politics or above partisan politics. So. But it is important to take cognizance of the fact that this elected president has got a very specific purpose over and above the roles that can be performed by an appointed president. With the appointed president could appoint head of state role, taking care of charity and all that. That I will do as part of the function. But you must see what is the core role. Why do you change the constitution from appointed president to elected president? And that is the purpose. We must remind people all the time. And I am not opposing the government. I'm not trying to tell the people that I'm better, I've got experience, and because of the great economic problems that are coming up, I want to use my experience and wisdom to contribute to the government. I am not running for the prime minister position. Someone may be running by him. Someone wants to manage the economy to do that, but I'm not going to manage the economy. So that's where I'm coming from. Because I want to come back to the primary purpose of this institution, which is to provide checks and balances on the government. The government has been settled. It has been formed already. So what do we want this president to do? Is to check on the government. That is the primary purpose of this elected president.
跟你讲话的这一段 ，OK， 有人说你是反对党的影子啦，票源将会来自就是支持反对党的人呢，你怎么看？
我希望不只是反对党人支持我，还有其他的政党，尤其是 如果你不是反对党，你就是行动党吧。我也希望有行动党的党员、行动党的支持者。支持我，选我一票。其实你们，我在演讲的时候是讲，人家以为我是讲反对党的话，但是有很多人认识我，有很多人在政府，也有很多行动党的干部，也在外面劝告我怎样说，他们也对行动党政策不满，所以他们也希望我去好像制衡这个行动党政府，哪为以前的理想？以前的理想是为人民服务，不是部长只顾高薪才做部长的工作，要有为人民的服务的精神，不要去只为了高薪才做工。
那么你是不是默认你就是反对党的代表呢？
我是人民的代表，不只是反对党的代表。
你讲 讲说你是人民的代表，不只是反对党的代表，就代表说你是反对党的代表，对吗？
没有啊，我看你的逻辑是怎样的。
没有，如果按照你用的词的话，那就是反对党的代表。
不是吧？我没有讲的，我是说人民的代表，也包括行动党的支持者。我有很多支持者是人民党的行动党的干部啊，也是以前是也做过国会议员的，好多个啊，还有 email 还有 SMS 啊，给我啊。
可以给例子吗？
啊，不可以吧？不可以名字吧？给名字他们还有工作做。
所以你的票源有可能是从两方面都有了。
啊，两方面都有。是的。Well, the heart actually, it's more than just conscience, all right? It's conscience, it's compassion, it's empathy. I think empathy is an important word. I think this government has taken a very hard-nosed approach that whoever wants a job will get a job, and whoever works hard enough, he will have a good living. That's not true. That there are people who, despite all that they do, cannot make it in life here. Make it in life here. That is where the empathy. It takes one to come from that kind of background to understand. And I could understand it because we still have a lot of relatives coming to us. My late mother died only this year in February at the age of 100. And she would always remind me that whenever our relatives and friends come to us, we would give them, make sure that they go away with $50 or $100. Because that's what happened to us when we were poor. That our friends and relatives would give us $5, $10. In those days, 30 years ago, $5, $10, you could bring up a family on $5 a day. But here you can only get a glass of bubble tea for $5 these days. So that's the approach, empathy. You need someone. If you are born with a silver spoon in the mouth, you cannot empathize however much you want. You can rationalize, you can say that you know theory of how happening the world. You say that the Bible says that, It's different. You must experience it yourself, what it means before you can have empathy. And being born with a silver spoon in the mouth, well, it's not what you wish for, but at least it's a fact. Being born with a silver spoon, can you really relate, empathize to the people?
When you say silver spoon, are you making reference to a particular candidate who comes from a very rich background?
Well, I think I make a general point that to be able to empathize with the poor, with the common man, it helps a lot to come from that background. If you do not come from the background and say, I know the problems of the poor, it's theoretical.
Can you give us an idea of what your speech, your campaign broadcast speech would be like? What will you be talking about? What will you be addressing the nation on?
For my first broadcast, I will definitely be addressing on the unique role of the president, and the unifying role of the president.
Specifically, can you
Sorry?
Specifically, can you mention a few things you
well, then nobody will listen to my broadcast.
People will still watching that.
No, I have to pass that.
According to some voices online, some people may feel that they may lack the political savviness to be the president. For example, because of your straight-talking nature. Moving on, would you be more careful or would you be more subtle in your approach?
Do you want a candidate to say nothing about what his views are, to feel nice, to have a feel-good factor? I will unify the nation. I believe in multiracialism. Someone who will just make motherhood statements that the world economy is coming to the dark clouds above before you. I have the experience. I can contribute. These are motherhood statements. And I don't think you are fair to the people to give them this vagueness in hope. You must stand for something. You want somebody to stand for something and speak out. People go about their daily life, and they don't have much time to read newspapers and all that. But they will listen to somebody who says, yes, this is something wrong, and this is an area that I can do something about, and I want to do something about.
Sorry, just out of curiosity, so you'll be speaking out against all the heckling in the future or anything like that?
Sorry, heckling?
Just out of curiosity, because you said yourself that you want to be in a position to say what's right, what's wrong.
Yeah.
Today, obviously, arguably, what happened earlier during the nomination can be used as ammunition by,
Well, I really don't know what happened there. I was inside, so it's really not. And it's outside, crowds are outside my control. I don't know where it is coming from, and, who shouted what names. I don't even know.
True, but the point we're asking is that would you tell your supporters, look here, I don't think you should behave in such a
Yes,
manner?
well, that is something that we tell our supporters all the time. That let's play it respectful of other candidates.